Welcome back, focused learners. Okay, so today we're diving into a super relatable slice of the gardening world. We're looking at an explainer of the journal Notes on Gardening, specifically part 897, by an author named Ang. Now, I want you to picture this. It's the festive season. You're at the store, and the shelves are just lined with these stunning, vibrantly colored plants just begging to decorate your living room, right? So you buy one, full of hope, only to watch it inevitably perish the second the holidays are over. It's a tragic, kind of comedic cycle we know all too well. So let's unpack one gardener's documented struggle with this exact scenario. So, have you ever bought a festive plant that just didn't make it past the holidays? Look, if you're nodding your head right now, you are absolutely not alone. We've all felt that weird mix of aesthetic joy followed super quickly by, well, botanical guilt. It's this accidental houseplant demise that almost feels like a rite of passage, you know? In today's source material, Aang recalls buying pots of a specific plant during the festive season way before they discovered a true passion for gardening, only to watch those poor plants completely fail. And that lingering guilt, well, that's the emotional foundation for everything we're about to look at. Section 1. The succulent dilemma. The specific biological subject of our dilemma today is the kalanchoe, scientifically known as kalanchoe-blossfeldiana. Now, as our source notes point out, this isn't just any festive plant. It's a succulent. And because it's a succulent, it carries a very specific and honestly, sometimes incredibly difficult set of biological needs. AMD actually notes in their journal that this plant comes with, quote, its own list of issues. So yeah, this is not your low-maintenance, throw it in a pot and forget it kind of greenery. The fact that it's a succulent is the absolute critical variable that makes this entire gardening equation so complex. Section 2. Ghosts of Gardens Past. Every good story has a call to adventure, right? And for our gardener, it happened in literally the most mundane of places, a recent grocery run. Aang writes that they stumbled upon the kalanchoe at the store, and it immediately sparked a debate in their head. Should they give it another try? Now, what makes this really fascinating from a documentation standpoint is that Aang first raised this exact same question all the way back in part 18 of their gardening notes. So this botanical debate has basically been haunting them since the very beginning of their documented journey. This little grocery run simply brought the ghost back to life. And this right here brilliantly illustrates the core conflict of our explainer. Aang's current gardening philosophy is to, and I quote, let nature take its course with minimal intervention. Sounds peaceful, right? A beautiful, totally hands-off approach. But when you combine a minimal intervention philosophy with a highly sensitive, issue-prone succulent like the kalanchoe, oh man, you are setting the stage for an epic standoff. The author actually admits that judging by this hands-off style, survival is highly doubtful. The philosophy simply doesn't match the plant's needs. Section 3. The environmental antagonists. Because, let me tell you, the obstacles stocked against the kalanchoe in this gardener's yard are intense. We're talking harsh tropical weather, relentless downpours, an absolute lack of a dedicated sheltered microclimate, and high humidity that creates this massive susceptibility to pests. I mean, if you're a fleshy succulent that prefers controlled, dry conditions, this list reads like a literal horror movie. Aang's yard is essentially a gauntlet, custom designed to test the absolute limits of a succulent's endurance. Now, this highlights a totally counterintuitive reality of succulent care. You might think the blazing sun of a tropical environment would be the biggest enemy, right? Actually, scratch that. Aang's notes specifically point out that heavy rain is a far bigger threat than the sun. Why? Well, because relentless downpours almost always lead to root rot. For a succulent whose very nature is to store water in its fleshy leaves, just sitting there in soggy, rain-drenched soil is a complete death sentence. So the rain, not the heat, is the true villain here. Furthermore, our author relies on past data to predict future failure. In what they call the portulaca precedent, Aang notes that based on their experience growing portulaca in this exact same yard, they know exactly what happens to plants with this type of anatomy. The historical data pretty much proves that fleshy plants are highly susceptible to pests in their specific humid climate. So it's not a guess, it's empirical observation. The humidity brings the pests, and those thick, fleshy leaves provide the absolute perfect target. Section 4. The single specimen trial. But yet, the temptation remains, and honestly, this is the fascinating psychology of the home gardener at play. Because despite everything we just covered, the overwhelming odds, the relentless downpours, the absolute lack of a protective microclimate, the pest infestations, and those lingering memories of dead holiday plants, despite all of that logical data practically screaming at them to walk away, the temptation to buy the kalanchoe is still vividly present. And writes, quite simply, even so, the temptation is there. It completely defies logic, but it perfectly captures the enduring spirit of someone who just loves plants.
Eng actually concludes their journal entry by wondering, perhaps I should just get a single specimen as a trial run to see how it goes. It totally mirrors the eternal, sometimes completely illogical optimism of the home gardener. So is a single specimen trial run actually worth the risk of repeating past mistakes? Or is the pursuit of that vibrant festive beauty worth the almost certain outcome of root rot and pests? It leaves us, and the author, right back where we started, at the grocery store, staring at a succulent, debating whether to take a huge leap of faith against all scientific and environmental odds. So what would you do?